بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا مولانا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا محمد. Let's talk about AI, water, privacy, life, and most importantly, love. I want to tell you a story, a real story, a love story. Not a metaphor, not an allegory, not content engineered for engagement. A real story from my life, from my past, from my undocumented life. I believe in something that many today might consider radical. Call it proverbial wisdom, or in English, hikma, if you will. If you are lifing, you are not posting. Yes, lifing as a verb, not as a profile, not as a feed, not as a reel, not as a carefully curated archive of performative existence. If you are lifing, you are not posting. Is there really an inherent conflict between the two? Yes, there is. And in fact, the distinction matters far more than most people realize. Because the moment your experiences become content, something fundamentally changes. Presence is sucked out of every single posted moment. Presence, both human and divine. Presence, that silent sensation you place in another person's heart when they know your attention belongs completely to them. That the time you spend together is not being converted into social currency. That the moment is not being staged for invisible spectators. That no algorithm is hovering over the interaction asking whether this moment is shareable. That the meaning in the moment is no more and no less than the value they hold in your heart. Just you and them, in invisible nearness, in intimacy no camera could ever capture. Presence is anchored in singularity, one human heart encountering another human heart. Presence, that silent sensation you cultivate with God through worship and prayer and remembrance and tears, in hope, in awe, in obedience, in love. Presence is anchored in singularity, one servant and one Lord. If you are lifing, you are not posting, because life is presence. So let me tell you a story, a real one, a love story from my undocumented life. From a place and time where people fell in love not through posts, but through presence. I was 18. He was 20. I had absolutely no romantic intentions toward him whatsoever. These were the pre-internet days, or at least the very edge of them, back when the internet still felt like a strange academic frontier instead of a permanent pollution surrounding human existence. The US government had issued a limited number of email accounts to American schools, with instructions to distribute them to their most gifted students. Outside of class, I probably spent 70% of my high school years in the library. Either I was fasting and trying to escape the cafeteria, or I was reading every Sherlock Holmes novel it housed, at least twice, or I was engrossed in some philosophical discussion with the librarian. So when the day came that he walked in holding 20 email accounts in his hands, he could barely contain his excitement. He sat me down at one of the computers and dictated his email address so I could send a test message. Then, jokingly, he began improvising a ridiculous science fiction story in which I was the heroic email queen of the universe. That sounds like a very lonely universe, I replied, where I have an email account, but no one to write to. Precisely, my dear Watson, he said excitedly. That's why you need this. Then he leaned over the keyboard and typed in a URL, IRC, one of the earliest live internet chat platforms. That was the moment my curiosity awakened. Could I meet Muslims from around the world? Could I find conversations beyond the boundaries of my tiny physical environment? Could this strange new digital frontier become a doorway into something meaningful? The game was afoot. Only I had no idea what I was about to find. It wasn't a story of mystery and suspense that was about to unravel. It was a love story. It isn't written in a book, nor posted on a platform. It's real, a presence from my past. So if you enjoy mysteries, or perhaps especially if you don't, join me next time for the undocumented life.